Hello and welcome to WarrenThornton.com. Hello and welcome to WarrenThornton.com. We will have Lembit Öpik with us at some stage this evening, but just to let you know that we're all ready to go. And my, hasn't it been a fun weekend? Plenty going on, plenty we have to talk about, and there are lots and lots of crazy things that have been happening and stuff that many people will be really unhappy about. We're certainly unhappy about some of the things that we've seen over the past weekend. So we're going to get into those. We're going to be talking about the cross, and we're going to be talking about what happened in Huntingdon on what people are dubbing the train of terror. And some of the things that have gone on there have been quite disgraceful. We're going to have a little look at it. The government have come out, as we knew that they would, and have said that it is not a terrorist attack. I would beg to differ on that one, but let's have a delve into it then, because they're saying it's not a terrorist attack, but we've got some bits and pieces on it, and of course we'll be talking about it. Here we go.
The train. I asked what that suspect looked like. They said it's a black male in all black, so a black hoodie. And then at the back of the station, he's walking calmly. As the police were coming through, like armed police, I said, I think that's the guy. And essentially, as they got closer to him and started shouting, like, get down, get down, he then was waving a knife, quite a large knife.
So there we are. We have a gentleman who's gone around and stabbed 10 people with a knife, and everybody is turning around and saying, well, you know, it's been designed to do all sorts of things. But at the end of the day, there are 10 people who have been harmed by this, where two black men have got out a knife, and they have literally gone out and stabbed people on a train, which does seem quite crazy and quite strange, to say the least. Why did they do it? Well, I guess we're going to find out over time. However, you have to say that what has gone on is nothing short of horrific. Starmer's come out with the usual nonsense, you know, thoughts and prayers and all that nonsense. But is it too little too late? Because let's face it, does Starmer actually give a toss about anybody in the UK? You would turn around and say probably not, given what we've seen from him so far. The usual something is do something, do something, do something, do nothing. Thoughts and prayers. That's the only pad that they are interested in pressing. If they're really interested in pressing in saving people or stopping people from getting harmed in any way, then they'll be out there doing something. And they are not. This is the problem that we have. And of course, this is the problem that is going to continue over and over and over again until somebody does something about it. And of course, Starmer spent quite a bit of the weekend pushing the digital ID again. When a legal immigrant is carrying and waving a knife at you, but you all remember we have digital ID. Thank God for that. These weren't illegal immigrants. We are being told there are two Brits that are 30, round about anywhere in their 30s, 30 to 35 years of age, who were literally on this train, boarded the train as far as we know, and then just started stabbing people left, right, and centre. And of course, there's many horrific stories out there of exactly what they got up to and what they were doing. It is without doubt something fairly appalling. Have Brits had enough? This is the thing. It almost seems as though every day now, or almost every week, there is some horrible thing that happens to Brits, whether that be in the middle of the streets. This is in Manchester, Piccadilly. This is 2 trains with migrants. Have a look at this.
Whoa. That's Cozzy, that's Cozzy. No, whoa.
It's not yours. It's not yours. It is. It's not yours. It's not you. It's not yours. It's not yours.
This is going off.
Pull his hammer.
No, I'm not.
Can't rumble with his own movement.
So that was in Manchester, Piccadilly. And that, of course, is not the same as the stabbing. But, of course, we've got the UK Defence Minister, Healy, coming out saying they're isolated.
Police running on the train. They're doing something but fucking watch it. Because what's doing is doing that. They're going for someone on the train.
And then, of course, while we're looking at those sort of isolated attacks, you have many people now getting to the point where they've had enough, and they have had enough. They don't want any more of it. They've seen enough to make them think if they were younger, then they wouldn't be in this country. That is terrible when you get to this stage.
If you were in your 20s today, what would you do?
I'd leave.
You'd leave?
I'd certainly leave the country now. I think it's going to the dogs.
Emigrate.
Immigrate.
The way the country is now, I would emigrate.
Immigrate? Why do you say that?
I just think this country's on its way down. I just don't think it offers much for young people now.
Emigrate. Why would you do that?
Just think everything's going to pot in England. Get out of this country.
Did you say you left the country?
Yeah.
Where did you go?
South Africa and Australia. Move abroad.
The thing is that I've seen it just go downhill, and it's so sad.
Well, say you were in your 20s today, where would you go?
Well, I have a natural affinity for Spain, so I'd certainly go to Spain.
I think I would move abroad.
To where?
Well, probably Italy or Spain.
Where would you go?
Canada, New Zealand, Australia. Better places in England now.
Where would you go to?
Probably New Zealand. It's a lovely country. It's clean. The people are so friendly. I love the place, mate. Like.
There we are. So it is one of when you sort of look at this and you go, wow, how bad is it going to get? Well, it is getting worse and worse and worse. Lembit has just come in with us. Lembit, we're just on the subject of what happened in Huntingdon, how often this is now beginning to happen. We've got a few more videos of this. Very simply, let's get into a couple of videos and we'll let Lembit get himself all composed.
Yeah,
there is. Let's have a look.
Murder. Within 8 minutes of the 999 call being made, 2 men were brought into police custody, where they remain this morning. I can tell you that these are the first male, a 32-year-old male, a black British national, and a 35-year-old man, a British national of Caribbean descent. They were both arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. Both were born in the United Kingdom. As stated, they remain this morning in separate police stations for questioning. 10 people were taken to hospital by ambulance and another person self-presented later that evening. While 9 were initially believed to have life-threatening injuries, following assessment and treatment, 4, thankful to say, have been discharged. Within 8 minutes of the 999 call being made.
There we are. So all patting themselves on the back, and rightly so, for their quick response time. Let's get into it a little bit then, because this, I believe they're saying, is part of what went on. Let's have a little look. This is what they did to arrest the man. They're saying this is part of the videos of the police responding. So in pretty short order, they've managed to arrest them. And I will turn around and say, well done for getting in there very, very quickly and managing to stop that from happening. Stop any more than that happening. Mark Chamberlain, and then Lee Williams, and then Robert.
Yeah, I believe one of them's been released. I think it's the 35-year-old, and said that he had nothing to do with it.
Well, there we go. If they've got the footage of that, it could just be a sick man who's decided he's going to do something along those lines. Lee Williams, and then Robert.
I was just going to say, it's nothing to do with skin colour or where they come from around the world. I would actually perceive it as a mental illness. Whoever would do that in any country in the world, walk into a train station with a knife and stab people. Simple.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Robert.
I'm surprised that those police dogs haven't been arrested for hurty thoughts.
Yes, exactly that. Good call. Let's get into what Lembit's got to say then. So Lembit, we've been showing a video where people are just saying they would emigrate because they've had enough. Starmer's come out with the usual thing. Healy, the defence minister, has come out and said it's an isolated incident. It's not though, is it? People are getting more and more attacked, more and more getting stabbed and everything else. And this, I mean, is this? I mean, we don't know at the moment, but it's certainly got all the. It's certainly pre-planned that he's gone onto a train with a knife and stabbed 10 people. Lembit. I mean, this is either mental illness or this is some sort of. I mean, this is almost a terrorist attack, isn't it?
Well, it's a very strange thing to say that it's not a terrorist attack. If you attack 10 people, how can it be dismissed as just an angry person or some kind of a moment of madness? Yeah. It just doesn't add up. It sounds ridiculous, to be honest with you. They're kind of trying to redefine what terrorism is because they're so scared of people becoming vigilantes, because we're very close to that in Britain now, I think.
Yes.
It does seem that one of the suspects has been released, and the other one, the black 32-year-old, apparently from Peterborough. I'm always very cautious about these descriptions.
Yes.
Is the suspect, and I don't know if it's going to be mental illness defence as usual. But let's remember what happened with the Southport killing by that horrible scum who killed children in Southport. We were told he was a Welsh choir boy. There aren't that many Welsh choir boys called Axel Ruda Cabana, but there we go. We were told he was Welsh born, which is technically correct, and that this wasn't anything to do with terrorism. But of course, we know that all of that wasn't true. Ethnically, he clearly had foreign roots, which doesn't make him a terrorist. It just made the government liars, basically, willfully misleading people, I would say. And then they said nothing to do with terrorism, and subsequently we know that it was. So no one really trusts the government anymore. That's the problem they've got. People don't any longer believe what they hear. And that's the problem. It's a repeatable of that. Now, I don't know what the person's motive is. I don't know what his ethnicity is really, but the government makes it a lot worse for itself by double standards. As soon as they didn't quickly release the color of the person, we knew he wasn't white.
Yes.
In Liverpool, within hours, we were told there's a white 53-year-old from the Liverpool area when he allegedly drove his car into a crowd. But they took, I don't know, about 16 hours to tell us this time, maybe even longer. And so this is the problem. The government doesn't have any credibility anymore. The people wanting to emigrate, I'm not surprised. People are so despondent about the state of the country. It's becoming lawless. It's dangerous. You tend to think of trains as safe places. Go through central London now, and there's an air of menace. A bit like Paris. Paris is a ruined city now. And we did it to ourselves. We did it to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And this came on the weekend, of course, when Ricky Gervais was getting stick for this poster. London, welcome to London. Don't forget your stab vest. The Dutch Palm vodka. He's not wrong though, Lembit, is he?
It's dangerous. The worst mayor in London's history, Sadiq Khan, has totally failed to clean up knife crime. 80,000 phones stolen last year. He told us that white families weren't representative of London. There's no angle from which you can say this is reasonable. He looks complicit in covering up the rape gangs. He looks complicit because of the way he behaves. Very depressing. I now actively tell people, don't come to London for your holidays. Go somewhere safe.
Yes. Well, let's have a little look at that, shall we? Because just on the sexual attacks in London alone, let's have a little look at the numbers here. Let's pull that down a bit. As you can see, Afghanistan right at the top, Albania, Iraq, Iran, Egypt, Morocco, Kenya, Romania, Bangladesh, Bulgaria. Need I go on, including Ukrainians, right in the mix there. Right at the bottom, British 6.5. If you get, I mean, I'm not being funny here. I'm not saying you're going to get rid of all sexual attacks. You're going to have a massive cut down, aren't you, if you get rid of other nationalities in London?
If you got rid of all the illegal migrants from Afghanistan, Eritrea, Algeria, Somalia, Sudan, Albania, Iraq, Iran, Egypt, Morocco, Kenya, Romania, Bangladesh, Bulgaria, that's probably about 80% of them.
Yeah. It is quite staggering, of course. And this is more and more people, as I say, are getting to the point where they want to leave the country. We'll get on to...
but some of them are legitimately here, has to be said. Some of them legitimately coming. So they're not all illegally here, but a lot of them are. And that's the thing. If you actually said you come here illegally, you don't get to stay, we would do away with a whole lot of the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it is not surprising. Let's have a little look at this, because this is very third world. This is the... China, and they're not like this.
Where was that?
That was in London. That was the 5:30 walk around London. You see the main cities in places like China, they're not like that.
No, I was in Dubai for business last week. 3 things you don't have there: rubbish, on-street vagrants, crime. Those 3 things seem to be almost entirely absent. A pretty girl in her late teens or early 20s could walk through the middle of Dubai in the middle of the night with no danger at all. It might be something to do with the fact that although alcohol isn't illegal, it's very hard to get. But I think it's mainly because they don't tolerate the destruction of their society by other people. A very large proportion of people in Dubai, the majority almost by definition, are not born in the United Arab Emirates, but they behave themselves.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now, I wrote some thoughts on X. I wanted to share them with you, Lembit, because I just did it from a personal point of view. Um, you know, from being an ex-soldier and everything else. And I wrote, one thing you can never be sure of until your life is threatened is how you're going to react. Some freeze, some others cry, some beg for mercy, some find themselves ice cold and clinical, others go berserk with rage. And you never really know what's going to happen. It's not always possible to disarm dangerous people by becoming non-threatening or avoiding having to kill or be killed. It's horrible to be put in that position. Even joining the army, you will not know how you will react until you are in a battle. I personally was a bundle of nerves and scared until it came to it. And then luckily I was one of the ice cold and clinical ones. Now, was that state of mind or the training kicking in? You never truly know till you put in that position. Even worse, Lembit, once you have killed, you never want to be put in that position again. And yet, some people who have never killed, some people who have taken a life and never want to be put in that position, you'll find some people can push you into that corner, not having committed the act themselves, but bullied people to the point where they feel they have no option but to respond in that way because they're that frightened. Now, the natural, sensible reaction is to get away and stay away. But what if you cannot? Do you just accept your fate or do you fight back? And then the real, shall we say, horrible thing happens is the whole mechanism of the state is arrayed against you and tries everything it can to show you to have used unreasonable force in ending the life of the attacker. Having been in that position themselves, having never been in that position themselves, they now become the moral arbiter of how you should feel and you should react. There is no one more sanctimonious, idiotic, or totally uncomprehending than the law when you are put in what you believe to be a life-threatening situation. The whole mechanism, as I say, is used to turn the person who you felt could and was going to kill you into the victim. Then there are the holier-than-thou morons who will back up the person who would have killed you and even donate money to set him or her free. And we've all seen that. In all of this, the greatest anger felt is the unfairness of it all towards the person who was going to get or did get harmed. It's even more likely you'll be put in this position now, but the law will say there's no room for vigilantes. This, of course, is the nonsense rhetoric used by those charged with your safety, failing to keep you safe in the first place, namely the government and the police. And uncontrolled and unchecked immigration has put more people across Europe in peril and in danger. This is a fact that you are in more danger now than you've ever been. When the people charged with your safety do nothing and indeed hide the identity, as Lembit was saying, of those who attempted to take your life, is it any wonder people will start to arm themselves? For the people, the very people you trusted to care for your safety quite clearly do not. The very people entrusted to make sure that risk to your life is minimal by their actions are increasing it. I couldn't give a flying stuff for those of you out there saying this is wrong. You have never been in that situation. Those mealy-mouthed cretins don't bother me at all, and neither should they bother you. You may take, I think, whatever steps you deem necessary to ensure your own safety. And even then, you may find yourself one of the people mentioned earlier on. But at least you had the option. Now, no more people lying on a slab while some authority figure tells the press that lessons have been learned, because they haven't, and it will happen again and again. And next time it may be you. Now, I'm not advocating you being violent. I am advocating you taking whatever steps you feel you need to take to ensure your own safety. As for all those out there saying this is wrong, let them be the ones on the mortuary table, not you. Enough is enough. Lembit, I believe we are in the era of armed or be harmed. What's your thoughts on this?
Yes, well, I hope we don't get to a situation where we end up having to arm ourselves. I hope you're wrong. I've known you
We're
long
there,
enough.
aren't we, Lembit?
Well, I've known you long enough to be cautious about dismissing the things you're saying. I have a slightly different solution to get a government capable of doing its job. A government which actually takes a much harder line about the people who come here. Now, just with the Huntingdon thing, it's not really clear what the background is of this person after the absolutely unforgivable deceit, and it was de facto deceit perpetrated by the Labour government over Southport killings. I don't trust them at all. And I feel something's wrong with what we've been told, because it was very wrong when we were told that Axel Ruda Cabana was a Welsh choir boy. who did well in his life. We know now that there's a much darker background to his life. So once again, we find the same situation. I would say this, though. If we start arming, then we end up in an arms race. I think it's more likely what's going to happen is vigilantism, where people give up on the police and say we'll do it ourselves. Yeah. Now, I lived in Northern Ireland, and interestingly enough, it seemed to me that one of the places with the least amount of crime in the whole UK was Northern Ireland. Why? Because the paramilitaries kept fairly tight control of their local communities. IRA in particular didn't tolerate drugs dealers and so forth. And it was very summary justice. But those areas were not patrollable by the conventional forces because they simply weren't trusted. They were regarded as sectarian. And those areas were comparatively safe. So vigilantism isn't the rule of law, but it's where you end up when the rule of law breaks down.
Yeah. Could you just turn your mic up a little bit, please, Lembit?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Not a problem. Now
it's actually me. I'm just not shouting today.
That's all right.
Okay.
So you were saying about getting a government. Labour have literally the Greens have overtaken. Then the Conservatives are level. Labour have sunk into fourth place. Reform are miles ahead. Is this the rest of the country saying go forth and multiply, Lembit?
Yes, well, there's a complete loss of faith in the existing, total loss of faith in the existing shower, frankly, the uni party. It's just people have no faith at all. Can you hear me better now, by the way?
Yes, we can, yep.
Okay, I was just talking quietly. I normally shout when I'm on your show. There's no faith in the Labour Party. I was looking at Keir Starmer's approval ratings. It's something like +13 and -79, something like that, or +18, -79. It's absolutely phenomenal. He's toast, really. As a political figure, he's finished. I don't see how he can turn it around, because in order to turn it around, he has to become more intelligent, and he won't be able to do that. He has to become a better politician. He won't be able to do that. So what I'm thinking is the uni party's gone. Reform, which is still having to learn the job, it's still inexperienced, is winning by default because they have a charismatic leader, Nigel Farage, and they're not the other parties. There are other parties which are in the frame. Advance UK is quite interesting. Ben Habib, very credible individual, but he doesn't have quite the same momentum. They've got over 30,000 members, actually. And so Ben Habib's kind of credible as well. But what's happening is the people are saying anyone but the old parties. The country is currently finished. It's totally hung out to dry. The ridiculous Green Party, the comedy party, really, it's a joke party, who want to increase migration, as far as I can tell. And want to ruin our economy with this nonsensical, non-existent climate emergency. They seem to be doing better than the Tories and Labour, because there's people saying anyone but the old parties. So the left's going to the Greens, right, and some of the middle people are going to Reform, and Labour, Conservative, Lib Dems are sinking. Lib Dems are doing all right, but I mean they once again by default, because Ed Davey made a fool of himself in the election.
Yeah, absolutely that. Lee Williams want to have a quick word, Lee?
Yes, I just want to ask anybody, because I trust all the government. I mean, what one would anybody personally trust? The Conservative, Labour, UKIP, the Green Party, or any new party? Are they all actually considered all the same? Are they more for...
That brings me to my next question. Nilus.
Well, I think probably one of the reasons that people are going to the Greens is because the schools, universities, and the multimedia are all propaganda platforms for the Green Party, aren't they?
Yeah, I think you might be. You could be right. Mark Honza?
I think the real question is there any party that's not paid or influenced by Israel?
Yeah, exactly that. And while we're talking about that, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that segues nicely into something that I want to talk to Lembit about. Reform UK, is it going to be any better with Farage? Let's have a little look at this. This is money that has been given to Reform Reform UK, or Best for Britain, from the Open Society Foundations, which of course is the George Soros party. So that's over almost 4 million that's made its way into their coffers. Just another bunch of people that are owned, isn't it, Lembit?
Didn't know that. And the answer is, I judge by results. It depends to what extent they maintain their integrity and put Britain first. I mean, Best for Britain's a clue what they should be doing. I always say on your show pretty much every week that Israel are absolute masters of lobbying. They get loads of money from America. They spend some of it on war and other things, and then they recycle some of it to lobby. In nuclear terms, it's like a fast breeder reactor where you use some of the power of the nuclear power station to create more fuel. And that's what Israel does. That's why they've been able to wage so much war, because they're very efficient at it. Israelis themselves generally pleasant people, in my view, my experience. The problem is they've got a political leader who is not my cup of tea at all. And I think he's done untold damage because he thinks he can fight his way to victory. And also he's got the additional problem, if the war ends, then his legal troubles start.
Yes.
So when it comes to reform, I've seen comments by Richard Tice and the deputy leader and Nigel Farage, the leader, which seem to be fairly sympathetic to Israel. But as I said before, a lot of what reform does is still being formed and shaped, and then it'll be interesting to see how they shake down. I'm not looking for a party that says it hates Israel. In fact, I don't want any party to say they hate Israel. It's very easy to mix up Judaism, Israel, and its leadership.
Yes.
My issue is the current leadership of Israel. Different people could do a different job, and in my view, a much better one. And so I wait to see what's going to happen there. But your point's well made. We'll have to see what happens.
Okay, buddy. We're going to hear from. I'll give you a minute because I'm going to get Robert in a second. I'll give you a minute. Eric Jones in the chat says, "Does Lembit still support reform?" Robert. Let Robert answer first, and then you can come back, Lembit. Robert.
I'd be grateful if you put up that picture of the Open Society contributions to reform.
Yep, I can.
So I could. I want to pass it on to some local friends who are officers of reform.
Okay, I will send that to you personally, Robert. How's that?
Thank you.
No problem at all. Lembit, I'll let you reply to Eric. Eric says, "Are you supporting Nigel Farage?"
Yeah, I've been supportive of reform by default. I dropped out of politics completely because I was totally disillusioned by the old parties. And then reform showed a lot of promise. They came into the more libertarian territory that I inhabit. And so I have been supportive of reform. It's conditional. They need to do what I want them to do. And I'm willing to help them do that. But it is conditional. I'm not just joining reform and supporting them for the sake of being involved in politics. In fact, it wasn't really my intention to return to at least British politics at all. But here I am. The question that we've just been talking about is a very important one. Where do they stand on this and other international politics? As you know, I think that we should get out of the Ukraine situation and let Putin have the land that he thinks he needs as a buffer zone. Because I believe he'll stop the war then. He doesn't really want to spend billions there. That's a big question for me. Where do the various other parties stand on that? You've already raised the question of the Israeli situation, and can they have a more cohesive and mature view than, for example, the Labour Party, where Starmer spent 2 years saying Israel can do what it wants, and then recognize Palestine. It's just very so unpopular. So we'll see. Reform did quite well in the by-election in Caerphilly. They went from 0 pretty much to good second place.
Yes.
Maybe if they'd been more organised for longer, they could have won it. But Plaid Cymru had a very good organisation there. But what I detected, I went to that by-election quite a lot of times. People weren't really looking at the detail. They were just saying what was wrong with the old parties, time and time again.
Okay, fantastic. Robert, just to let you know that chart is now with you on your WhatsApp. We're just going to have a quick look at this then, because we don't want to see this anymore either, Lembit. This is a young woman here.
What? I want to saw you from over there. I like your hair still. You got some nice hair. It's nice and luscious. I'm perfectly fine. You're gonna die. Huh? Why are you just smiling at me? Oh. I asked him a question, a serious question. Do you wanna die? No. Why? What do you mean why? Because you stop touching him. Why? Because you're gonna die. You sure? Yeah. I saw you from over there. You're just looking like you wanted to die. Hmm? When did we look at you? Well, you was looking at me this whole time. You're gonna die. Nah, bro. Bro. You're gonna die, bro. Bro, don't even answer that right now. This is serious, bro. You're trying to answer the phone. Who's calling you? They can wait. They can wait, bro. You're gonna die, bro. Because I can take it out right now, bro. What's wrong? Huh? What's wrong? I can take it out right now. Do you want to die? Yes or no?
Now, those sort of people, I mean, telling her he's going to die and everything else, no girl should be suffering that on a train station platform, Lembit.
I don't understand why the sound was so good. That sound came from very nearby. And if that was being filmed from across the station, you wouldn't get the sound that quality. I don't understand.
Yeah. But what it may well be, a setup. It may well be that they recorded it, the actual voice on the phone there, and then pieced it with the actual person taking the. So yeah, it could be a setup, might not be.
There's an issue, but the general point is that Britain's dangerous now. Central London's dangerous.
That was the idea of, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that situation was horrendous. A horrendous intrusion if that was for real. And we don't have to look very far. We know that people were stabbed on the train. It's almost like there's no area of life which is safe in Britain now. And that's the reason people are leaving. Aside from anything else, of course, we've got a chancellor who's taxing the hell out of rich people, which means that in absolute terms, Britain has lost more millionaires than any other country in the world. And many of them end up in Dubai. Safe, low tax, nice weather, land of opportunity. Britain, dangerous, high tax, bad weather, and the opportunities have been ripped away from us.
I mean, regardless of whether that particular one is any good, it has to be said, Lembit, that women out there now are feeling incredibly unsafe.
Yeah, being groped, they're being attacked. We've had hundreds of thousands of underage girls, white girls being raped by rape gangs. A lot of perception that the Labour Party, in particular, protected those rape gangs. A lot of collusion. It's grubby. Going through London, I landed in London City Airport. When you go through that part of London, it's just oppressed. It's oppressed. And then I was going through on the way there through Ealing, and it's another country, and the ghettoization of the country. Some might say it's necessary to maintain social order, but it's very frightening for people, and elderly people in particular. They don't dare say it, because they'll be accused of racism. They say this isn't the country they were born in.
No, Lee Williams.
I was going to say it's just ideas, but do they get paid by certain people? That's number one. Number two, are they mentally ill, or is it planned? And three, why don't them people actually get arrested or actually stopped by people that shouldn't be there? They shouldn't be there. Simple.
Okay.
You wouldn't have that to do with anybody's family.
Okay. So that's something to take on board. There's some other things I wanted to discuss with you. Lembit, because it's a case of America walking back the threats they made to China over the last week on the rare earths and everything else. When you actually look at it, the actual tariffs China are paying is 16%. Donald Trump saying it's a 12 out of 10 deal. Did America blink for you? They did for me, but I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, they did, but they were always going to. I never really expected Donald Trump to carry on waging a war with the second largest economy in the world and the most important economy to the United States in terms of making things. So I always thought it was bluster. So did Xi Jinping, the Chinese premier. One of the dangers for Donald Trump is he's rolled back so often. People now know his positions are far less intransigent than he might have implied before.
Yes.
And I want that. I want that. I want economic competition to define the future, not military competition. So I want Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump and Modi in India. I want them to talk to each other. Because if those four are getting on well, we're talking about probably just under half the world's population. But if you add the allies for each of those countries, about 2/3 of the world's population, and the world will be safer. Whether you like Margaret Thatcher or Mikhail Gorbachev, and on my meeting of Mikhail Gorbachev, I was very put off him. But whether you like them or not, didn't matter. The world was safer when Gorbachev and Thatcher and Reagan got on.
Yeah. Eric Jones.
Well, the reason that we've had such a decent so-called economy, and that's kept, in other words, it kept it from going under falsely. But however, it has kept it. The only reason it's kept it this way is because of cheap goods from China, because we don't make anything anymore. And his cutting off the cheap goods from China with his little tariffs is not helping our economy at all. And it's proved to be negative, and I don't care what anybody says. I live here, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right there. Lee Williams, very quickly.
Say around about the time when he said if he got into power, he would stop the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. That's number one.
Which
Two,
never
was
going to happen.
He was asked was, does he know? Let's call him now Prince Andrew, because obviously it's to do with Epstein. And he said, no, I don't know Prince Andrew.
Yeah, we're getting off the subject. We'll deal with that another day. But we've got this here. This is who needs the rare earth metals from China, Lembit. And these are heavily reliant on China for rare earth metals. So you've got Brazil, then Turkey, then Germany, then the UK, then Korea, then the United States, India, Japan, and Canada. And we'll get to that question in a second. So that's the ones who need the rare earths. The people who have got the rare earths in good supply are China, Brazil, India, Australia, Russia, Vietnam, United States, Greenland, Tanzania, South Africa, and Canada. Lembit, it does seem that America are dashing around trying to do as many deals as they can with other people for rare earths rather than get it from the Chinese. Oh, you need to turn your mic on, buddy.
Apologies. They don't want to be dependent on China, but they have no choice. From an economic point of view, it makes more sense, I think, on the whole, to go to the bulk supplier, a known quantity, who will, in my view, give very good quality products to the United States. But there's a bigger thing. The United States has to use China. Britain has no alternative because we've exported our manufacturing to China in the ludicrous pretense that carbon dioxide generated in China doesn't affect the climate. Well, it does, but no more than the UK, and it's actually good to emit Chinese CO2. In actual fact, China's doing us a favor because by increasing carbon dioxide, because they produce more carbon dioxide because these coal-fired power stations, and we do like for like, they're actually feeding plants. Just the and for another time we'll talk about that. But however you look at it, China is not realistically going to be a military foe. As soon as you start doing that, everybody loses. And China has the biggest, I think, numerical army in the world. I think maybe it's Russia, but they've got amazing weapons. They've got incredible toys in the arsenal. So it's just a non-starter to start a war with them. It's just a non-starter. So what you do is you make peace instead.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Let's get into this because we've got a question from Andy FX saying, are they really going to start doing all sorts of things when it comes? Do you think Trump is going to go into Nigeria? Do you think he means what he says? Because Trump's turned around and said that Christians are being killed in Nigeria. If it doesn't stop, we'll intervene soon. I'll let Lembit answer that, and then I'll give you my thought.
I think he will. I think he's not particularly worried about Nigeria. Nigeria is a economic disaster area, absolutely paralyzed with its own corruption. Huge natural resources there, but so corrupt that they had, I don't know if it's open now, but they had an oil refinery which couldn't open because of corruption. So they exported their crude oil and then bought it back at a loss. Essentially, I'm oversimplifying it, but that's essentially what they did. So what Trump is basically saying, I'm just going to sort this out as a sideshow. They might even be doing Nigeria a favor because all the terrorism and kidnapping of children and everything else, it's just disgusting. Yeah. And maybe Nigeria wouldn't have too much of a problem with it. Maybe.
Okay, my thoughts on it, for what it's worth, Andy, is yes, everything that Lembit says there is pretty spot on. For me, though, it's got nothing to do with protecting Christians. It's about literally raping Nigeria for everything they've got. And the reason why I tell you it's got nothing to do with Christians, they're quite happy to shake hands with Al-Jilani, who's murdered God knows how many Christians in Syria. So it's got nothing to do with Christians whatsoever, and it's got more to do with what the Nigerians can provide America with. Nilis.
Yeah, do we know who's funding these Islamic fundamentalists in Nigeria? I wouldn't be surprised if it's both
Saudi Arabians. Saudi Arabians.
Well, yeah, they wouldn't. The Saudis wouldn't do anything, I don't think, without the both the blessing of the Americans, the Europeans, and Israel, probably.
Yeah. It's the same old story as in Syria. They're murdering Christians now. Well, but they are doing us a favour. They did get rid of Assad.
Exactly the same. I remember one of the worst things you ever showed us was those people being murdered by Islamists in the Congo.
Yes.
They had their heads back.
Yeah, they were just literally lining them up and caving their heads in. It was absolutely.
And they were those Islamists.
Yeah, it was absolutely.
Those Islamists were being funded.
Yes.
By the British government. If I remember.
Quite correct. Let's get on to this now, because we have a heck of a lot tonight to do with Ukraine, because obviously there's been some really, really unbelievably stupid things have happened in Ukraine over the last 24 hours. And of course, we'll be taking a little walk into that. First of all, we're going to get Lembit to talk about this.
Doctors and nurses. Yeah, who'd have thought it? So the NHS has a vaccine problem. Staff don't want the jab. So doctors, nurses and other frontline NHS staff are shunning the flu vaccine. So this is the flu vaccine, not the coronavirus vaccine, in ever greater numbers, with almost 9 in 10 staff at one of England's largest hospital trusts unvaccinated last winter. Oh, I wonder what changed in the last 5 years to make people suspicious of vaccines.
It's called. I mean, we're there, aren't we, Lembit? People are almost at a point now where they'll never have another vaccine again, won't they?
I'm one of those people. I've had enough. They poisoned me. They hurt me. I was injured by a vaccine. I won't do it again. And I am absolutely disgusted by the lies that were told. I was fairly agnostic about this during the COVID thing. Last time I had a vaccine, and about 4 years ago, was it? It was my third vaccine, and it messed me up. And I'm never going to do it again. But the problem they've got now, it's a really serious problem. People who are in the health service are essentially looked up to as respected experts on this. They're saying, well, having the vaccine. It's not a good look for the health service to be telling you to have something that its own staff don't want, and that's a really, really serious problem for them.
Yeah, exactly that. Quite crazy, isn't it? And when we're talking about health care, something else that's crazy. Luigi Magnoni, Lembit Öpik, he's become quite the man, the go-to man in prison. Loved by the inmates who all seek his advice. Women writing in wanting to marry him. As much as you will not condone vigilantism, is this a current state of where we are between the people who get screwed over by the big companies and corporations? That we are at a point now where people have had enough of this and are starting to back the little person who decides that they're actually gonna make these people who are never accountable.
Yeah, you need to explain to people who he is.
Okay, he's the guy who shot a CEO who basically reneged on a lot of, shall we say, medical payments or medical insurance, and what they were doing was cancelling them for the tiniest little infringement, or as you say, you've got to read the fine print, and turn down lots and lots of medical procedures for people, Lembit, who suffered really, really badly afterwards.
Yeah, and I think that what people are saying is we've had enough. Had enough of this now. We've had enough of being treated like fools. People feel utterly deceived by the state, totally and utterly deceived by the state, and as a result of that, we see this this rage, really. I think this rage. People are just refusing to cooperate, and just a bit like we talked about parties earlier on. They're looking to anyone who stood up against it, and they don't have these highfalutin intellectual conversations on television like we are having now. What they're doing is saying, well, here's another person who stood up as a little man. And you say, yeah, but he murdered someone. Say, yeah, but no, it's not right. But I feel really angry. And this is the difficulty we now have. We now have a situation where, if anything, the public are screaming at the political servants who've stopped being providing service, and said, basically, two fingers to you. This guy killed someone who we think is a baddie. And that's the point. We can sit here and preach about this, but if you ignore the actual true sentiment out there, then you don't fix a thing. You just let it keep happening again and again and again. And I don't know anything really about the guy. I don't know what his motivations were. You say what you said, and I get that, but I've no doubt at all that the public is now beginning to disconnect from the political system, and that's actually quite dangerous. But it's politics' fault, not the public's.
Yeah. Oh, have I just lost you there, Lembit?
No, I'm here.
There you go, Nillis.
I just stopped talking, and then
there was silence. Nillis.
Maybe there's some latency there. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, we can see, throughout the recent decades, the elites have got richer, through things like the COVID, the vaccines, the forever wars, this green energy. So all the money is flowing to the 1% or of the elites, and so people are being left behind. And we can't. You can say that these sort of Robin Hood sort of characters are now just emerging in our society. You can't really be surprised that people have great respect for them. Another thing you forgot to say, Warren, is that people are putting great big murals on the walls of certain areas of New York of his face, and he's become a Robin Hood character.
He has. He has.
Take from the rich and give to the poor character, because so many people have lost family members because they can't get the insurance money. If you turn to TikTok now, it's changing, but if you turn to TikTok now, a lot of the TikToks are people asking you to watch their TikToks so they can get some money for medical bills.
Yes, true. But absolutely right. Keir Starmer could change his perception overnight. He's just got to stop stealing from the poor and giving to the rich. Mark Onza.
I'm not as worried, Warren. If I get my digital ID and a couple of vaccines, they'll give me a universal basic income.
One of those, isn't it? Yeah. Give me loads of money, please. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take all the jabs you want. I think it's a blinding idea. I don't know how long you last to spend it, buddy. Let's get into this. I quite like that one. That's quite good. Let's get into this. Lembit, before we finish the first hour, do you fancy a free pair? Have a look at this. There we are, free pairs for everybody. Of course, crossing the railway line is sometimes, should we say, fraught with danger. Just to let you know, in Quay, there is going on in the country at the moment. None too clever, as they say. It always seems to be a problem in places like Vietnam, Lembit. Bangladesh, Vietnam, whenever the rains come, he said, I'm always amazed that nobody's ever doing anything about it.
About what? The flooding?
Yes.
Nothing you can do about it. It's natural. What do you want them to do?
Well, I was thinking something along the lines of a massive dam or some massive water.
It can't. That's how that land works. Just because you want to live there doesn't mean the nature's going to clear off and say, all right, well, we'll stop flooding the floodplains.
I just don't want to see it underwater all the time.
There's a clue in the name, floodplain. When I was an MP, someone came to me and moaned and said, oh, we're really fed up. Our house keeps flooding. I said, where is it? They said, well, it's in Brook Close. I said, do you know why it's called Brook Close? They won't know. I said, because there's a brook underneath it. And then some other people said, oh, yeah, we bought a house in the floodplain and it's flooded. So there's a clue in the name.
Yes.
I actually opposed that particular development because it was in the floodplain. And all the bottom bits of the houses flooded because that's what floodplains do. So I'm not that sympathetic. I'm just not that sympathetic. I just think you have to accept that nature is more powerful than we are. And for us to start moaning about the floodplain's flooding, just let's recognise you've got to coexist with nature. And the climate changes, it gets wetter, it gets drier, it gets warmer, it gets colder. Very little to do with us. But
right, Nillis and Lee Williams, very quickly, Nillis.
Yeah, a lot of farmers I knew were quite pleased when their land flooded because it fertilised the land. You got the river silt there, and that was acted as a fertiliser.
Fair enough. I'll shut up then. Lee Williams.
Anywhere to live, I don't know if it'd be common sense, but if it was raised up, let's say 20 foot out of the ground, would that help anybody from building it on the ground in these areas?
Know. Proper irrigation. You never know. Somebody else has stuck their hand up now. John Murphy.
Well, living in High Wycombe, there's a clue in the name, Warren.
There is. Get up on the hill. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've already been told off for that. Somebody you need to tell in off is this woman.
Do you support US military strikes on the territory of Venezuela as part of what you call a process?
I believe that the increase in pressure
and the escalation that's taking place is the only way to force Maduro to understand that it's time to go.
There she is. That's Macheda, or as I call her, Pennywise the dancing clown from the film It, because of the clown grin. The Nobel Peace Prize winner advocating dropping bombs, Lembit. That's a new one.
No, it's not new at all. It's just more honest than usual. Black is white, bad is good. George Orwell was right. and what we're seeing here is that steady disintegration of the old ways as the threadbare, cynical corruption of the deep state becomes ever more obvious. Somehow the swamp is being drained, in part thanks to Trump, but largely because the people at the top of what they hoped would be the new order are really the old order, but they're not competent enough. There's been an obvious, marked decline in the capability and competence of politicians, quite obviously. And the decline has been the worst with the old guard. They've become fat-headed, careless.
You're not going to say it, but I am. There's been a decline in the competency of MPs ever since Lembit left the House of Commons. There we are. Let's get into this now. Very, very simply, you weren't going to say it, so I thought I would. Let's get into this now, because this is something that we'd like to see, isn't it, Lembit? There we go. Chinese robot firefighters, Lembit. You can send.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because it means that firefighters won't get incinerated when they get surrounded by flames. They still looked a bit scary.
They do, don't they? So, like, you sort of look at them and you go, not quite sure. But if they do the job, how great. There is 28 dead after the obvious hurricane Melissa that went flying through. There we go. Can we get a link in the chat to the robot? Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Very quickly.
I was just saying, I don't see how you could heat protect those firefighting dogs. You know, but as soon as they got near the heat, they'd probably melt, or their circuitry would malfunction.
What if you dressed them in a space blanket?
Well, I don't know if you've ever been near a house fire, but I have, and it's very, very
I've been
hot.
in the middle of one.
Well, yeah, you know what it's like then.
Yeah, gets quite warm. Talking of house fire, how's this for a house fire? Since we're on that subject, let's play this a little earlier. The oil refinery in Mexico that went boom. We've got the video of it. Pretty terrifying stuff, Lembit.
Yeah, why did that happen?
We don't know. Somebody careless with a cigarette. I don't know. But what we do know is it did go up. It wasn't bombed or anything. So nobody's claiming sabotage, which seems to be the thing these days, doesn't it? But no, as I was saying, nobody's claiming sabotage. So we're thinking that it's just one of those horrible accidents that you get. As I say,
yeah.
Talking of horrible accidents, let's talk about Macron, because good old Louis Bastos first.
Hi, good evening. Sorry, I've seen one of those accidents in the Seychelles. One of our known friends, colleagues from sailing, he forgot the gas on in his yacht, and at night we both went on our own little boats, me to my boat, him to his, and he forgot the gas, and he lit a cigarette inside his yacht. There was nothing left of it. Nothing left of it.
Never good. Thank you very much for that, Eric Jones.
Yeah, well, it's significant because it's in Mexico and it's probably refining stuff that we use. And our California refineries have shut down, and we've had other refineries that have had fires. So that's making our gas costs go sky high. It's a big deal. And whoever's doing it is could be forcing the price of gas sky high.
Ah, that's it. That's an angle I didn't think of before. Well done. Let's get into this now, Lembit. We've known, haven't we, for a while that Maloney doesn't like Macron. It's now official.
Emmanuel Macron ci ha definiti vomitevoli, cinici, irresponsabili. E qui la stampa italiana a dire, hai visto che ha detto Macron, che siamo irresponsabili. Vergogna. Irresponsabili, Emmanuel Macron, sono quelli che hanno bombardato la Libia perché gli dava fastidio che l'Italia avesse un rapporto privilegiato in campo energetico con Gheddafi, esponendoci al caos migrazione nel quale ci troviamo. Cinici, Emmanuel Macron, sono i francesi che mandano la gendarmerie a rispedire indietro qualunque immigrato tenti di passare il confine a Ventimiglia. Ma soprattutto, perché le cose vanno raccontate come si deve, vomitevole è chi... Buono, che lo vuoi tu? Ci hai mai tolto il pathos? Vomitevole è chi, come la Francia, continua a sfruttare l'Africa stampando moneta per 14 nazioni africane sulle quali applica il signoraggio, facendo lavorare bambini nelle miniere, estraendo materie prime come accade in Niger, dove la Francia estrae il 30% dell'uranio che gli serve a far camminare le centrali nucleari e il 90% dei nigerini vive senza elettricità. Non ci venire a fare lezioni, Macron, perché l'Africa scappa da voi e la soluzione non è spostare gli africani in Europa, è liberare l'Africa da certi europei. Non accettiamo lezioni. Chiaro?
Well, if that's true, that is quite remarkable. It doesn't look to me like it's AI. It really does look to me quite clear that it's for real.
It is for real. Yeah, we've done an investigation into the French doing that.
I mean, it's interesting actually how angry she was, but Macron isn't credible. The difficulty with Macron is he's not a credible politician. He's ludicrous. He's a ludicrous politician, actually. He's impotent in his own country. He spends a lot of time allowing the person he's married to obsess about things which I don't really care about, but which makes him look ridiculous again. Because most people, most people, they don't really care whether Macron's wife is a man or not. They care about the fact that he goes on about it so much. That's the thing. And then all that stuff when he gets slapped in public and people gossip about him, his coalition of the willing embarrassment, which is no better than Storms. All these things are wrong with Macron. And when you compare him to some of the better French presidents, it's a long way behind. Sarkozy was another idiot. I met him. He really was an idiot. He just was a terrible person. Just really terrible. No, I can't say terrible person. He behaved terribly. His karma was lamentable. So really, France isn't in a great place at the moment.
No, absolutely right. And just before we finish our first part of the our first segment, just that was Maloney being quite scary. But this gentleman decided to do something really scary for Halloween. He dressed up his robot as the woman from the Japanese horror film The Ring, and this is the result.
Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Inventiveness of some people, quite incredible. Now,
That is really scary.
wasn't it? I wouldn't. You imagine that coming down a you know, without a guy laughing and not lights on and coming down an alleyway at you, you'd really start to worry. Got to say, thank you very much for watching the first half of the show. You've got literally 1 minute now to put a kettle on and make yourself a cup of tea before the second half starts.